Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So for this video, we're going to be talking all about brushes. Most of these brushes are multi-use. You can use them for whatever you like, for whatever works for you. And we're going to start off with the face brushes. Of course, the first thing you're going to do is apply foundation, and I would suggest something like this. It's a round but also very dense brush. You can apply foundation on the brush or on the back of your hand and apply it in circular motions. I use this brush for foundation. This is the only kind of brush I would use, and this one is the Morphe M439, so this one's a pretty good brush for that. I don't normally use brushes anyways for foundation, but if I ever do use one, it would be this one. Normally I would use makeup sponges for my face, for my foundation. I apologize, some of these are dirty, but for powder I would use these kind of brushes. So this one, as you can see, on all sides it's fluffy, but this one, I like the flat side to press my powders in, or I like to use it this way, the sideways, and use it for my bronzer or my contour and blending that out. I like the fluffy brushes for that. Sorry, this one's pretty dirty. I used it for my bronzer. Now this brush, because of the shape, it's a all-around fluffy brush, and as you can see, it's sort of tapered, and I like this shape specifically for under the eye. And this is exactly what I used today for my powder. And then you can use it to dust the powder or dust the powder off if you want. This one's really good. This one is almost the same. You can sort of see the difference, except this one's more rounded all over. This one's also good for setting, but honestly this brush is for blush. It's the BMX 130 pointed blush brush, but I like to use it for powder, but you can also use it for your blush, and you can use it for your contour if you want to. So these ones have a multi-purpose. Don't be afraid to switch it up. Whatever makes you comfortable using it with. If it works for you, use it for blush, use it for bronzer, for powder, for whatever you want to use the brush for. But this is a good brush for all around. Also, another reason why it's good to know that you can use your brush for more than one thing, it can help you save money. Buy one brush for like a multi-purpose thing, and I would suggest you get one of these. This is the instant brush cleaner. I got this at Walmart. This is what it looks like. Say you're using your brush and you want to switch colors, or you want to use the same brush but with a different color. All you gotta do is brush it around, and it takes a lot of the color off. That way it's almost like you cleaned. It's not clean. Let's just get that straight. It's not going to be clean, but it's going to take that color off. That way you can dip into a different color and use it for that. This is pretty useful for if you only have a few brushes but you want to use them over and over again for the same look. You just don't want to mix or transfer colors where you don't want them to be. And if you don't want to get that tool, you can always use paper towels in between different colors. Sweep the brush on the paper towel and it cleans most of the color off. So that's a good tip too. For blush, I use these different kinds of brushes. So this one we already talked about, so I don't have to talk about that one anymore. But this is also a nice brush for blush. You can see it's super fluffy. It's nice and round, but it's not too big. The way I use this one for blush, brush it back when I apply my blush And I use a very light hand because I don't want an intense color. You can also use this brush for bronzer as well. It fits perfectly. This one, it is a stipple brush. I don't know if you can tell. I like to use this kind of brush for those very pigmented blushes, like where it's intense. Say you have a very bright blush. You don't want to put too much on because then you'll end up looking like a clown. Nobody wants to look like a clown. Unless you do, you know, that's your thing, then go ahead. But for those of you that don't want to look like clowns, this is another good one just so you can slowly build up the blush. And that's how I apply it. I just lightly tap it on my cheek, and it builds up the color softly and slowly. That's a really good reason for a stipple brush. Now we can go on to bronzer, and I'm going to bring this brush again. This one's good for bronzer. The shape, I've already talked about that. Angle ones are good for bronzers. This is the one I use today because I like to go in. I like the angle ones because it like perfectly sits on your cheeks. This is another angled brush, and this one's a little smaller, but it's more precise. So this is another good one. Or if you don't want an angle one, you can use one like this, a nice simple round one, and use that. This one's very fluffy and flexible. I like this one. This one is also a good one. It's sort of like the powder one, in the sense of they have a wider side and then they have a slimmer side, if you can see that. But you see this one's a lot bigger. This one's a little smaller, and it's still fluffy, but it's just a smidge more dense than the first one. Now I forgot about this brush. I like to use this for powder, for setting powder, and it's so fluffy. I like it for powder because of how big it is, but I also like it for bronzer. This is also good for bronzer, like not applying it. You can still use it to apply it, but say I put bronzer on and it looks too harsh or too deep, too much color, I just use this to soften it up and blend it, and it works really well for either or. Now onto highlighting brushes. These are the brushes I like to use for highlighting. As you can see, this one, it goes from big to small. The big ones I like to use for my cheeks right here for the highlight. And this one I like for my cheeks too, if I want to like pinpoint exactly where I want the highlight to be. And also the small one is good for the tip of the nose, the upper lip, and also on top of the brows and the chin. I like the small one, it's just more detailed. You can even use this one for under your eye. It still works for under the eye, it's just smaller than the other one that I showed. Okay, let's move on to eyes. For the eyes, let's go into the blending brushes, and I have quite a few blending brushes. Like those I have to have. I have to have blending brushes. Now for blending, these I have more, but they all pretty much look the same, and they all pretty much look like this. These are the kind of brushes I like for blending. Let's talk about this big one. This one's good for your transition color. You know, the first color you put right in your crease. Or it's also useful for when you want to blend it out with no product, by the way. You just want to blend out the harsh lines. This one's pretty perfect for that. Now, these ones are about the same. This one's just a little shorter and a lot more dense. and this one's a lot more fluffier. This one's super fluffy. And the dense ones I like for like that deeper color where I want more pigment. I like to use the dense crease to start applying that. The fluffier ones, I like to apply the lighter colors but blend them out at the same time. And these ones are pretty much the same thing, except this one's shorter, but they're both just as fluffy and they're both just as good. I just feel like there's no such thing as too many blending brushes because I use them all the time. I'm going to show you some more blending brushes, but these are a whole lot tinier than the ones I showed you. Like, do you see the difference? Definitely a big difference. I like these for when you use those darker colors, which for me are like the scarier colors, because you don't want to put too much. Say you're using black and you put way too much, it's hard to go back from that, and you kind of have to start over when you put too much of a really dark color. So I suggest you get like these tiny little brushes for the darker colors. It just makes it so much easier to blend out and apply. That's what I would recommend these smaller blending brushes for, is for the dark colors and for more precision, of course. Now I'm going to show you these kind of brushes. As you can see, they're very, very thin. I'm going to go back to my blending brush, and you see they're very thin. These kind of brushes are called like pencil brushes, detail brushes, or smudge brushes. And you can tell they're a lot smaller. I like to use these tiny brushes for my lower lash line, for the highlight in the inner corners, or like I said, the deeper shades, but just in a smaller amount. That way you can concentrate the darker colors even more with this one. These are perfect for those kind of techniques. These are the flat brushes. As you can see, they are flat. I like to use these for packing on shimmer or glitter. Also for cutting the brow, which I don't really do, but I know a lot of people like to cut their brow to make it look sharper or whatever. If that's your look, totally okay. They look beautiful, they do. It's just not my thing. But you can use that to carve your brow. You can use it for a cut crease. You can use it to pack on glitter, pack on shimmer. And you can also use it for your concealer if you have to do like spot concealing and then blend it out with the sponge. I also use these flat brushes to apply glitter glue or primer. Now I'm going to go to some other flat brushes. Like, they're also very thin. As you can see, these two are flat and this one's angled. These kind of brushes I like to use for my brows to apply powder, or some people like to use pomade, and they're perfect for that too. But I also like these kind of flat brushes for doing like a liner, like a shadow liner. Like, you can use like the dark shadows and use it on your lash line and make like an almost like an eyeliner look with only shadows. If you're afraid to use liner, or if you just don't want to use liner, they're perfect for that. For brows, you can use the angled one or you can use the flat one. They're both perfectly fine. It just depends on what you prefer, but they can both be used for brows or for a liner look with your shadows. I've actually used it for smudging as well. Oh, and by the way, the pencil ones are also perfect for highlighting the brow bone as well. Also, these kind of brushes are perfect. They're actually for the lips, and I like to use that for like lining my lips with a liquid lipstick if I don't have a matching lip pencil. I like to use these for the liquid lip to do an outline for my liquid lipstick or for any of my lipsticks. Is that all my brushes? I think that's it. I'm pretty sure, I believe that's it. Oh, last brush is this kind of a brush. It's a liner brush. So it's for like those gel eyeliners. You can do your eyeliner with it, but you can also use it for, say you have a liquid eyeshadow. You can use it to do a liner with the liquid shadow. This kind of brush is also good for like detailing. Say you want to draw a little flower, you just want to be more artsy with your eyeshadow. These are perfect for that as well. So yeah, I believe I've talked about all my brushes. If I forgot some that I've used before that I haven't mentioned in this video, just comment down below and let me know. If this was helpful or if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That way you can see more of my tips, my tutorials. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.